Okay, so today's topic is going to be evolution. And the idea is basically as follows. Scientists are saying that we evolved from apes. Basically that we're nothing but a bunch of monkeys. Now, do you think this is true? Do you think we really did evolve from monkeys? Of course they'll say, oh no, we really didn't say monkeys, we said apes. You know, like the chimpanzee or the gorilla. But, you know, the gorilla, the chimpanzee, the orangutan, they're all very hairy. Also, they don't swim very well. So, scientists came up with another idea, the aquatic ape. They said, well, basically, you had these creatures that were kind of like a gorilla, and they started hanging out at the beach. And after they started hanging out at the beach, then they decided that they wanted to eat some fish, and that's why their brain grew, because fish is really high in phosphorus, so it was able to allow their brain to grow. That doesn't make any sense, but at least it has one thing going for it. If you notice, there are animals that live in Africa that don't have a lot of hair. For example, the elephant, the rhinoceros, the hippopotamus. These animals typically, they like the water, and I'll tell you why. Because they weigh a lot. When a person is really big, they like to get into a pool because, all that weight puts a lot of pressure on their feet. So they like getting in the pool and then relaxing a little bit. This is the same with animals like the elephant. They get into the water and, they cool off. It's kind of hot in Africa, so they like to cool off. But here's the problem. There's no fossil evidence for an aquatic ape anywhere, ever. So the scientists are like, they don't really know what to say, so they started backtracking on that theory, and they started saying, oh, we never said that. That people just lost their hair because. And then you say, well, because what? Well, what you need to do is shut up. People who don't believe the same way we believe are all crazy, because they believe in an invisible man. And people who believe in an invisible man are all crazy. And then they started just going on the attack. They don't have any evidence. That's basically it. I mean, the aquatic ape theory made a little bit of sense. Not a lot, but a little bit. But since they don't have evidence, they just get angry and start calling people names. Think about it. If I tell you something, and then later on it comes out that I'm a liar, what happens to your belief in me? You start believing a lot less in me, right? Let me give you an example. I remember I called a bunch of stores up to see if they had a certain camera that I was looking for. So after I called a bunch of stores up, finally one of them said they had it. So I went over there. After I drove over there, oh, we're out of stock. Okay, when is it coming in? Oh, I don't know. Well, you told me you had it. Well, we just say that just so people will come into our store. Oh, really? Well, guess what? I'm not coming into your store again. See, that's the problem with scientists. They've lied so many times that people don't trust them anymore. They just make stuff up. They just say, oh, well, I never said that. I said something different. And they're constantly changing their story. Here's an example of why I don't believe scientists. And this should make you laugh, because when I heard it, I couldn't help but laugh. I remember I was asking why some men become bald. And of course the scientist had a hypothesis for why. And he said that, humans were hunting mastodons in northern Europe, and it was really cold, so they needed hair to protect their brain. But the problem was that the hair would get in their eyes, and that's why they became bald. I mean, can you imagine something like that? And also that explains why women aren't bald, just men. Because the women stayed in the cave. I mean, I had to laugh. I'm like, this is the most incredible theory ever. But that's what you get from a scientist. They just make it up. It's just like a used car salesman. He just makes up whatever he thinks will sell the car. He doesn't care. He knows that's a piece of junk car that belongs in a junkyard, sold as scrap. He knows that. It's not that he doesn't know what's going on. He knows what's going on. He just wants to sell you the junk car. He thinks you're a moron. You're going to believe whatever you're told. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? Oh, so the women, they stay inside the cave. They don't go out and hunt mastodons, just the men. Oh, okay. That explains why men become bald and not women. I mean, theories like that just explain to you why you should not believe anything scientists tell you. I mean, everything they say is just, they just make it up. Whatever they think will sell their theory. And remember, they're politically correct. So one day they'll say one thing, but tomorrow they'll say something completely different. I mean, nothing that they say today will hold tomorrow, because they're just changing their story constantly. You know, one day they'll say one thing, then the next day they'll turn around and they'll say something completely different. And one of the things that people have pointed out is that humans are very good swimmers. Of course, that was part of the reason why they came out with the aquatic ape theory. But apes are very poor swimmers. In fact, a lot of them will drown if you just throw them into the water. But humans, when they're born, they know how to swim. So that was part of the reason why they came up with the aquatic ape theory. But later on, they said, oh, no, we don't believe that anymore. We're constantly changing our story. You know, another thing was that humans have salty tears, and that is common in animals that live near the ocean. So again, you know, there are a lot of theories for why humans lost their hair. But the reality is, we don't know. That is a lot more credible than coming up with all these half-baked theories that don't hold any water, in more ways than one.